How much did you say? You did what? What the f? Hey guys, and welcome to this week's vlog. Don't be a sucker. You wouldn't believe some of the stories that I hear from new artists and songwriters about the things they fall for. We have a saying down here in the South, and it's, if you can believe that, then I've got some oceanfront property for sale in Arizona. Don't be a sucker, folks. Learn all about it. We're going to break down the math, the do's, and the don'ts this week on this week's vlog. Don't be a sucker. Roll the intro.
Gather up, you weary souls. Show 'em you ain't dead. Tell 'em no, you ain't coming home. Woo, rise. Woo, rise. Woo,
Hey guys, and welcome back to this week's vlog. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. Don't forget, if you haven't already, be sure and subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell next to it so that you're notified every time I upload content. If you liked today's video, be sure and hit the thumbs up button one time. If you didn't like it, then we'll forget you. I'm calling this week's vlog, Don't Be a Sucker. And like I said at the beginning, it never ceases to amaze me or surprise me when I'm getting together to write with a new artist, or I'm developing a new artist, or a new songwriter comes in. And when I'm writing with somebody new, I always spend, the first 30 minutes to an hour just kind of trying to get to know that person a little bit, find out what makes them tick. What are they doing in their career? What point are they at in their career? So that I best know how to help them, or what direction to steer the songwriting session in. And it never ceases to amaze me that during this process, I end up hearing these amazing stories that just blow me away of some of the pitfalls that these songwriters and artists get themselves into, and some of the tricks of the industry that they fall for. And I just hate it. And those of you that follow this channel and watch my vlogs and everything, you guys know this is kind of my purpose. I want to help new songwriters and new artists. I want to help you be successful. And so when I hear these stories, I always try to talk to these new artists and these new songwriters and explain to them what exactly they're doing wrong. And that's kind of the purpose of this week's vlog as well. I want to take 3 separate scenarios that are common in the music business today. 3 different items that new artists think they have to have, they think they need, and what they're willing to pay for them. And I think you're going to find this pretty interesting. We're also going to break down the math.
nobody said there'd be math.
In this, because I'm a realist. Those of you that know me know that. I come at things from a real point of view. I don't believe in fishing without bait on the hook. And what I mean by that is that everything you do in this business is like fishing. You should put the bait on the hook and you throw it out there and you hope to catch a fish and you reel it in. So many artists in this business approach it by thinking that the more money they spend, the faster they're going to be successful and the more successful that they're going to be. One thing to remember in this business is money is only an accelerant. It can make things happen faster once they're already going. It's like pouring gas on a fire. Money very rarely gets the fire going. Okay? Money is an accelerant. Think about that. But I understand the worldview and the way that new artists think about things. They want to make a mark. They want to become successful quickly. It's not a fun process trying and failing and trying and failing. And although that is the music business, trial and error, trial and failure, you want to feel like you're accomplishing things, and you want to feel like you are having those small victories on your way to the top. But be careful. Be careful the roads that you go down, because not everything is worth it. Going back to the fishing analogy, you can't catch any fish if there's no bait on the hook, okay? And you've got to realize that going in. And every time you throw something out, which is your money, you have to reel something back in, or it's just a failed attempt. Today we're going to talk about 3 different scenarios, real world scenarios, that I've come across in the last couple of weeks. or one of them's last couple of years, kind of a trend in town. But these are three things in three very real situations that I've talked with new artists recently about that they're doing. But we're going to do the math to it. And then you can decide for yourself whether you think that it's worth it or not. The three things we're going to talk about today are recording a single, social media marketing and management and optimization. And then we're also going to talk about secondary radio promotion. And are these things really worth it from an investment versus return standpoint? First thing we're going to talk about is recording a single. Now, I ran into a situation a couple weeks ago when I got into an extremely heated debate on Facebook with a lot of other producers and songwriters. And those of you that follow me on social media, you know I don't take that stuff very lightly, and I don't take it well. If you give it to me, I will dish it right back out. And I always give my opinion. I always state how real things really are. And a lot of people don't appreciate that. But talking about recording a single, I ran into an artist that told me that he was going to come to town and record a single. And he called a couple different producers, and the total amount that kept coming around was $6,000 to record one song. Now, I think that's absurd, and I think that that's ridiculous. But you may not. You may think that's reasonable. Let's go through the math, shall we? So you're going to pay $6,000 to record one song. Okay, you're going to put that song out on iTunes and Google Play and Amazon and all these other people. And of course, you're going to put it out on Spotify and all the streaming outlets as well. But we're not even going to consider the income from that because it's nothing. Trust me, I've had songs on Spotify do 100 million spins and streams, and I mean, I couldn't take three of you to Taco Bell on what I made for it. So we're not even going to consider that. We're going to talk strictly about risk versus reward, and that always comes through album sales. Because everything you do in the music business should be to make money. Forget being famous, forget earning credit or getting the credit for something and thinking that's going to lead to something else. Let's talk brass tacks, let's get down to it, and this is about selling records and making the investment back that you've put in. So you're going to pay $6,000 to record this one single. Do you realize that at that rate, you've got to sell 4,651 copies at $1.29 to make that $6,000 back? You've got to sell 6,060 copies at 99 cents to make that $6,000 back. Now, sit and think about it just for a second. Remove the excitement of the creative process out of actually recording the single and think about that for a second. If you're a new artist, do you really think that you're going to record this one single and you're going to put it out on iTunes and 4,651 people are going to buy it? Or even if you do it at 99 cents, do you think that 6,060 people are going to buy it? If you do, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. The numbers don't prove that out. Let's talk a little bit about numbers because this will be important as we go on down the list. The numbers show that between 3 and 5% of engaged fans will actually purchase something from an artist. 3 to 5%. So if you've got 100,000 followers on Facebook, which if you're just getting started, you probably don't, but only 3% to 5% of those people will actually purchase something from you. That's why I always tell you that the music business is a numbers game. It's not about music. It's not about creativity. It's not about any of that. It's about the numbers. Just sit and think about that for a second. You're going to spend $6,000 to record one single, and to make that money back, you've got to sell 6,060 copies of that single. Do you think it's worth it? All right, let's move on to subject number 2. And this is always a favorite of mine. You know, social media is so important these days. It's for a new artist, it's almost everything. You know, that's what makes this such an amazing time to be an independent artist right now, is that the barriers and the walls that really stood in the way of artists being successful or having to be a part of the major label system to be successful was that major labels controlled all of the distribution, they controlled radio, they controlled all of the outlets, so that if you as an artist wanted to get something out to people, to have them the potential to hear it or even buy it, you had to be a part of that major label system. Well, today, all of that's gone. You can record a song tonight in your bedroom and have it on iTunes like that. That's powerful. People now stream on Spotify and Apple Music more than they listen to the radio. And getting your music on Spotify and Apple Music and the rest of the streaming outlets is just as simple as getting it on iTunes. So with those walls being torn down, the distribution outlets are open. The discovery methods are open for people to find your music. Social media plays such a crucial role in that, because that's how we're promoting our music now. That's how we're acquiring new fans. That's how we're letting people know what our music is, what our music's about, where it's available, who we are as artists. That's what it's all about. So over the last few years, social media marketing and optimization and management companies have become a huge thing. I was a part of developing an artist last year who I put together this really solid artist development plan. And it wasn't to make her famous. It was a step-by-step, a very slow, gradual process to develop her as an artist. Well, as she looked around and she saw other artists, she wanted to replicate the sort of success that she saw some of the other artists that she knew having. So she wanted to hire a social media marketing and management firm. Now, I'm not going to name names here because it's just not nice. And if you do your own research, you can find out who I'm talking about. So I set up a meeting, and we went and had a meeting with this company here in Nashville. And it was a great meeting. They talked about all the different things that they could do for this particular artist. And from a social media standpoint, what exactly it is that they do to get your message and your profile out there in front of fans and potential fans, and even bring new fans in. Now, this company represents some of the top artists in the world. The biggest of the biggest of the biggest names. They represent them and they handle their social media. But pause there for just a second. Just because a company does something for a very successful artist, you should never assume that they can replicate those kind of results that they're having with that artist with you. Take Taylor Swift, for example. Millions of followers and fans. She's a superstar, okay? So to think that a company is going to be able to do for you what they're doing for Taylor Swift is incorrect. You're not on a level playing field with Taylor Swift, and you need to realize that. She's got years of experience on you, and she's got a massive fan following that you don't have. So to think that if I hire the same company that works for Taylor Swift to work for me, that I'm going to get Taylor Swift kind of results, that's a wrong way to think about it. But that's how these companies sell themselves. We represent artist XYZ that you see all over TV, you hear on the radio. We can do that for you too. But that's not a level playing field, and that's something you shouldn't fall for ever. But a lot of artists do. So we went over and we met with this company, and we had about a 2-hour meeting, and it was awesome. And we were all pumped up, excited. And then it came to how much they charge. Now, for their service, they charge $5,000 per month. $60,000 a year because they had a 12-month contract. Now, that included the team to work on this artist's social media and assist her with posts and do the various things that social media marketers do. What it didn't include was an ad budget. So this artist was going to have to add on top of the $5,000 a month an allocated dollar amount that was just spent on advertising across social media platforms. So they went with a $1,000 budget. So now this social media marketing firm is costing this artist $6,000 a month. That's outrageous. Let's take the ad budget out of it for just a second, because that could fluctuate. That could go up or down. Let's talk base services. This company's base service was $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. Let's do the math. As an independent artist, if you were to hire this company at $5,000 a month, you're going to have to sell 46,512 downloads at $1.29 to pay for that service over a year. If you sell your single for 99 cents, you're going to have to sell 60,606 copies just to pay for your social media marketing service. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but that to me sounds ridiculous. I understand the value of social media, but unless anything that you're going to do advertising-wise, it really doesn't matter. If you're going to throw $1 out, you better be expecting a minimum $1 to come back. Otherwise, you're wasting your money. I mean, think about those numbers for just a second. $5,000 a month. That means on day one, when you wake up on the first day of the month and you're excited and you're ready to rock and roll, you realize then you get out of bed and you're in a $5,000 hole. How do you get out of that hole? And that's just for one service. There's so many other things you have to do in the music business. We just talked about recording a single. You have to create content. That costs money. Now you're talking about spending $5,000 a month. Now, I will say that is on the upper end. I've worked with several social media marketing people in the past that are much lower than that. But they all come in, the lowest I've ever found is around $1,500 a month. So at 99 cents, you're going to have to sell 1,500 downloads to pay for that. Do you think you can do that? Do you think that it's worth it? Or do you think it's wasting money? I think it's wasting money. Now let's talk about my favorite sham of all, secondary radio promotions. And this is really big in the pop world and the country world. You've got a lot of these places like New Music Weekly and Music Row magazine. They all have a chart system that is associated with their publication. And the stations that report to these publications are generally in small market, mom and pop markets. Nothing wrong with these radio stations. They serve a great purpose. But they've never really been proven that getting airplay on those stations leads to any kind of sales whatsoever. But as an artist, you want to hear your song on the radio. You want to see your name in print on that chart. So a lot of artists fall into this huge pitfall of paying an independent radio promoter for secondary radio promotions. Because you learn pretty quickly that you're not going to get on the big stations as an independent artist. They all have corporate mandates that say they do not play independent artists. So you're not ever going to get on the major, large, or even medium market radio stations because they're all corporately controlled. So you look down at the Music Row chart and the New Music Weekly chart and you think, I'm going to make some buzz and I'm going to start my career there. And then I'm going to move up and up and up. Well, that doesn't work. And I've got another video on that if you want to check it out. I will put the link to it right up here, or actually right up here. And you can check that out and learn all about secondary radio promotions. But let's do the math. Looking around out there today, most independent radio promoters charge anywhere from $8,500 for what they call the life of the record plus. There's some companies out there that charge $12,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. But let's go with $8,500 because that seems to be about the average for the life of the record. Now, what exactly does the life of the record mean? That means about 12 weeks. Sometimes they'll last a little bit longer, maybe 16 weeks, 18 weeks, 20, 22 weeks. But that's not very often. So the life of the record is usually about 12 weeks, which is 3 months. So, and that's going to cost you about $8,500. Okay, doing the math on this, let's look at it. You've got to sell 6,589 downloads at $1.29 to pay for that independent radio promoter. If you're selling your singles for 99 cents, you got to sell 8,586 downloads to pay for that independent radio promoter. Now, I've been in this business over 20 years, and I will tell you something right now. You will never sell 6,589 or 8,586 downloads from having a single play on secondary radio. There's nobody out there doing it. The reason most of these artists that you see on those charts, they don't ever go anywhere, is because they're not making any money. And money, again, is an accelerant, and it fuels the fire. It fuels the train moving down the track. A lot of those markets don't have a venue where an artist can go and play live. So there's no opportunity to turn that airplay into live performance revenue, and you're not ever going to sell the amount of singles or music, period, that it would take to recoup that money. So we've talked about recording a single, social media marketing and management, and secondary radio promotions. Now think for a second if you were an artist that came to town and you were doing all three. Think about that for a second. Let's say you had one single you were going to work, you were going to hire, you were going to pay to record that single at these prices that we're talking about today. You were going to record your single, you were going to hire a social media specialist, and you're going to hire an independent radio promoter. You're looking at over, well, let's add it up. Let's see. The social media is going to be $60,000 for the year, plus $6,000 for the single, and $8,000. That's $14,000. You are right around $80,000. Now, to make that money back, that single, even at $1 a pop, is going to have to sell 80,000 copies for you to get your money back. Look at yourself in the mirror and honestly ask yourself, do you think you're going to sell 80,000 copies? I'm not trying to be discouraging, and I'm certainly not trying to be negative, because I'm always here to encourage. I'm here to tell you you're not going to sell 80,000 copies. You would be surprised if you ever looked at a SoundScan report and actually saw the sales figures that some of the artists that you look up to, how much they sell. A lot of those artists aren't even selling 80,000 copies. So, in a realistic world, is it worth it to pay $6,000 to record one song? I don't think so. Is it worth $60,000 a year or $5,000 a month to have a social media marketing firm? I.e., that also doesn't include an ad budget, which they will tell you up front. Without the ad budget, what they're doing for $5,000 a month will not be as impactful. So you've got to add that amount on top as well. And then independent radio promotion. Is it worth $8,500 for you to see your name and your single title next to a number that says 40 or 56 or 52? Knowing that that chart position on those secondary charts is not going to lead to live performances and booking shows. It's not going to lead to selling merch, and it's not going to lead to selling downloads on the digital outlets. Like I said, I'm not trying to be negative. I want to encourage you. Don't be a sucker. A lot of these companies, whether it be producers, social media firms, certainly secondary radio promoters, but there are a lot of other avenues in this business. They prey on the dreams of new artists. And whether you have money to spend or you don't have money to spend, think about each step you take in this business. Think about it in these terms. If I spend $1, I expect that dollar to come back. In a perfect world, you want to spend that dollar and you want to have $2 come back. That doesn't always happen, but you've got to be smart and you can't be a sucker. Do your research. I'm not saying that these things don't need to be done. Yes, you have to record your music. Yes, you have to promote your music. But what I'm saying is do your research. Don't just look at the top of the heap and say, if I can't do that, then it's not worth doing. Look up different companies. Look up different service providers. Talk to different people. Don't just go with the first thing that you hear or the first thing that somebody tells you. You've got to be smart. You've got to be frugal. And you've got to think, if I'm putting something out, what am I getting back? Is the risk truly worth the reward? Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this week's vlog. I hope you got something out of it. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down button twice. And as always, please don't forget, subscribe to the channel. A lot of content is coming. I've got a lot of ideas, and I've started even filming some different stuff on some different series, and even bringing in some guests. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. As always, don't forget to follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Steve Freeman everywhere. And as always, my contact information is in the description below. Feel free to send me an email. If you've got a question, all you have to do is email me. I'll answer your question. If there's a question you'd like me to answer on a vlog or a topic for a vlog. I love hearing from you guys, and I love communicating with you. More than anything, I love helping you. And lately, I've been getting a lot of emails from people saying thank you for doing the video on Don't Waste Your Money, or thank you for the video on creating circles or creating opportunities. These vlogs seem to be helping you guys, and that's all that really matters to me. So thank you so much for playing along. Thanks so much for being here. Until next time, don't forget, keep pressing the boundaries, keep being creative, and there's nothing wrong with being independent.